community sustainable standpoint. So the title of this panel is Building Sustainable Future and Energy as a Catalyst for a Robust and Resilient Region.
Close to me. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Good evening. I am Pete Pritchard. I'm the Adult Education Director at Vantage Career Center. I'm here on behalf of the Superintendent of Vantage Career Center to speak about the benefits of the wind energy and how it dramatically has impacted Vantage Career Center and the communities in our district. Vantage Career Center is in Van Wert County, which is in rural northwest, west central Ohio. If you're not familiar with Van Wert County is, or Vantage Career Center is. Our geographic district consists of Van Wert County, Paulding County, western half of Putnam County, northern Mercer County, and small parts of Auglaize County. Our Career Center serves 13 area school districts, enrolling an average of 450 high school students annually. We provide relevant career training to 16 different programs, including welding, precision machining, industrial mechanics, where students can are actively sought by employers upon graduation, particularly in industrial mechanics, which is a skill that's actually really valuable for the wind turbine repair electricity skill sets. Vantage Career Center also has a thriving adult education program. We have served over 1,100 adults and displaced workers and put them into jobs of employment. We have added a new Advanced Energy Academy, which reflects and enhances the training programs specifically for the wind turbine repair training program. Senate Bill 232, which impacted adult education directly by stipulating that the university systems have partners to work together, spurred Vantage Career Center into a partnership where the New Wind Energy Commission can be developed for the purpose of providing trained workforce. The renewable energy field, which includes wind, reflects several different types of jobs that requires an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, technical skills, and engineering. Wind turbines in our area have stimulated economic growth and advanced our job training programs. Van Wert and Paulding counties had some of the highest unemployment percentages in 2010. We, along with our neighboring school districts, have experienced positive impacts. And since ADP Renewables and Renewable Renewables have developed wind farms in our school districts, the funds have come back to the county through wind-related legislation. The legislation came from the expansion of the wind energy requirements that requires educational partnerships through the University System of Ohio. The development and operation of the Advanced Energy Academy was made possible by financial support and professional expertise. The partnership formed the purpose of providing workforce training for the future wind farm. Both wind farms have also sub-scholarships that assist students in attaining industry certification, post-secondary degrees in alternative energy fields. Vantage has been in partnership with Northwest State Community College, Wright State University Lake Campus in Salina, and more trade industry programs. These partnerships reinforce the delivery of high-quality, cost-effective training by utilizing resources of all institutions. Our partnership with Michigan Institute of Aeronautical Technology brings the aspects of the wind turbine training from the onset at Vantage Career Center. The wind farm development has allowed Vantage Career Center to continue to do exactly what Ohio's career centers were created to do, provide relevant training for industry needs in our region with multiple post-secondary pathways for students of all ages to attain college degrees. Today, we have 17 individuals receiving training in our automated industrial maintenance program, which is a wind turbine technician pathway. The presence of the wind turbines has boosted our economy and decreased unemployment rates significantly during the construction period. In fiscal year 2014, the wind turbines provided the following amounts of additional revenue to the communities and our local schools. In Van Wert County, the county received a total of $2,070,000. Schools received a total of $1,409,000 of that $2 million. Crestview Schools received $857,000. Lincoln View Schools, which Dan mentioned earlier, received $410,000. Vantage Career Center received $141,000. That's just from Van Wert County alone. Paulding County, the schools received $830,000. Wayne Trace School District received $719,000, and Vantage Career Center $111,000. The wind turbines have also given our community a new insight into possible skills and other skilled job fields of the alternative energy area, not just limited to wind turbine areas. These jobs require all levels of education, a minimum of industrial certification, followed by associate's degree, a bachelor's degree in some cases, master's degree, and a number of fields of engineering, research, science, and environmental resources. We have definitely appreciated the support of the wind industry, and we believe that this will benefit this area and rural Northwest Ohio for years to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. So between your presentation and Dan's, I mean, it just sounds like the local economic impact has just been phenomenal, right?
It has, and it has definitely, one of the largest benefits we've seen is it's allowed us to really foster a strong relationship with our post-secondary partners. In some cases, as an adult education career center where we may not have the expertise, we could partner and tap into that expertise from our friends from the community colleges and develop programs that impact the area.
So if you were writing a letter to the State House, to our representatives, and asked everybody in the audience to write their state representative about the renewable portfolio standard in Ohio being unfrozen and the energy efficiency standard being unfrozen, what would you say to them? What would you say to your state representative?
Yeah, and I've had opportunity to speak with the state representatives, and a lot of it comes as the question. We've had an opportunity to give testimony. We believe that the state representatives really need to start analyzing the impact of what this renewable energy can bring to a community, and take an opportunity to visit and see what's happening. Where the revenue sources from these rural communities is hard to gain, we're actually producing something that's leaving that community and helping to grow those communities in different ways and having us look at workforce development in a different way. It's a win-win for the communities, and so we'd ask, they look at the Senate Bill 310, and we look at the setback rules, and see that this can continue to grow. It seems to have been good for the Van Wert area and good for and we've enjoyed the relationship we've had with Iberdrola Renewables and EDP Renewables. They've actually helped us look at things in different ways and help grow the area.
All right, thanks, Pete. That's a great story. With that, I'm going to move up to what I think is a strategic level, and we'll let Melissa take a crack at it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Green, and I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for Lucas County. I also chair the Toledo Lucas County Sustainability Commission, which is a group of businesses, government agencies, and nonprofits that work to forward sustainability in the region. The primary responsibility of the Sustainability Commission is to manage and implement the Greater Toledo Going Beyond Green sustainability plan that we completed about a year ago. So what I'm going to talk about today is sort of how energy fits into that, and I also want to talk about energy in relation to climate change, which is really pointed to as one of the most pressing issues that the sustainability plan attempts to address, how we can mitigate and adapt to climate change regionally. So the plan, the sustainability plan itself is organized into 3 systems, also a lot of times known as the triple bottom line, the people, profit, planet. So there's 3 systems: environmental, social, and economic, and that's sort of the larger framework of the plan. And then we've got it broken down into 7 focus areas that were identified as the priorities for the plan in the community, and those are water quality and supply, land and natural resource use, healthy, active, and safe communities, education, engagement, and empowerment, community vitality, infrastructure investments, and economy and workforce development. The plan is then broken down even further into 21 priority actions, which, don't worry, I'm not going to list all of those off. But the priority actions are the specific things that we're going to be doing in order to implement the Going Beyond Green sustainability strategy. And out of those 21 priority actions, we've identified 4 as our catalyst projects, which were the 4 imminent opportunities that we saw that we could sort of kickstart implementation of the plan with. Energy Efficiency and renewable energy are called out in specific parts of our sustainability strategy, but in many ways, energy as a solution is sort of woven into the plan. Through our initiatives, reduction in energy use is either a means to achieve some of our goals or an outcome to some of our projects. One of our catalyst projects in the sustainability plan is to promote the use of the Better Buildings program by local businesses and organizations. As many of you know, the Better Buildings program is Kevin's program at the Port Authority, which provides energy efficiency financing for businesses who are interested in using those technologies. The way we've chosen to do this is through our Sustainable Business Recognition Program. This is a program that is free of charge to local businesses and recognizes them for any sustainable practices that they're engaging in. Businesses are also entitled to a free sustainability assessment. There's the Business Waste Reduction Assistance Program offered by a partnership between the University of Toledo College of Engineering and the Solid Waste District in Lucas County, and you can get a free assessment if you are a business in Lucas County to look at your energy use and your waste management and get recommendations on how to better manage your waste and reduce your energy use. So we'll provide them recommendations on how to reduce their energy use and energy costs through that partnership. Businesses that join our recognition program also have to make a commitment to make improvements every 2 years. So the Better Buildings program is one of the tools that we recommend to businesses who would like to be more sustainable and make upgrades to their facilities. The recognition program also helps us to reduce the energy use by local businesses and encourage use of renewables, which is another priority that's outlined in the sustainability plan. One of the ways that we're evaluating our progress is looking at how our priority actions are helping us to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Because climate change is our most pressing environmental issue of our time, it's something that is addressed through many of the actions that we're setting forth to do. Climate change mitigation requires us to use our energy more efficiently and increase our use of renewables. Each of our priority actions is given a rating as to how strongly it correlates to climate change adaptation and mitigation in the region. So just a couple of examples. One of our priority actions is to develop resources for cities, residents, and businesses to work together to share ideas on water issues. Obviously a very high priority in the region with regards to our water resources, but it has a minimal correlation to climate change adaptation and mitigation. While creating a green stormwater infrastructure portfolio standard, which is one of the things that we're currently working on, because increasing the use of green infrastructure reduces our energy use in our municipal infrastructure, there's a pretty good correlation to climate change adaptation and mitigation there. Encouraging a complete streets transportation policy, which TMACOG has worked very hard on in this region, to increase walking, biking, and public transit options has a strong correlation because it can significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions that are created through transportation and use of fossil fuels for that. This type of rating is given to each priority action and speaks to the ways in which energy efficiency and renewables are woven into the plan. Our most important priority action as it relates to energy issues will be to develop a regional climate action plan, which will allow us to further elaborate on energy issues and opportunities here in our region. Our goal is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions from 37 metric tons of CO2 per capita to 22 metric tons of CO2 per capita by 2030. A climate action plan will allow us to do that more effectively, and that is our next step in moving towards greater energy efficiency and an increase of use of renewables in the region. One of the goals of the sustainability plan is to not only provide us with a roadmap towards a more sustainable Toledo-Lucas County, but to demonstrate the interdisciplinary nature of these issues and the solutions, and the fact that the solutions cut across all different sectors. Energy being one of the most prominent common denominators in the plan, it will inherently be a large part of the solutions we implement as we work towards putting this sustainability plan into action. And I just want to comment on the breadth of the sustainability plan. It's a 60-page document you can find online at lucascountygreen.com. And it's really exciting to talk about, but there's a lot to talk about. So I encourage everyone to take a look at the document to get a good idea of everything that it entails, and then you can really get a good idea of where energy fits into a lot of the things that we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Melissa. You know, I encourage you to look at that plan. There was a lot of work that went into that plan. Key corporate executives, not-for-profit executives, government executives. This just wasn't Melissa doing a science project. It took a lot of work locally, and we had some very good help. You know, I want to leave you with a couple facts that kind of broadens maybe how we think about the use of energy. We had a chance a few years ago to look at how the city of Toledo uses electricity. And I'm talking about the city budget. And what you might be surprised to find out is 1/3 of that goes into the processing of water. Okay, so that is the city of Toledo's industrial project, like we heard about Cooper Tire. 1/3 of it goes into powering streetlights, and 1/3 of it goes into the operation of buildings. And when you start talking about water, if you look at the facts around the country, that 20 to 40% of our water processing infrastructure leaks pretty much universally around the U.S. It's just a function of at what rate. And that leakage rate could be in the range of 20 to 40%. So on top of that, we're over-processing 20 to 40% more water than we need to because of aging infrastructure. So I just want to leave you with that.
Hi, my name is Dale Arnold, and I'm with the Ohio Farm Bureau. When you take a look at energy development, I want you to think about this. Yeah, farmers are very much involved in commodities, but I'm not going to talk about corn, wheat, and beans tonight. If we took a look at a chart from the New York Mercantile Exchange for natural gas, oil, and electricity, and what prices have been over the last 10 years, it won't look like this. It'll look like this. It'll look like a Cedar Point roller coaster. And if it was, you're going to be in the riding something white knuckles time. I want you to think about this. That's a lot of volatility with regard to energy prices and energy supply. I want you to think about community development and planning the same way because it follows the same path. Which means congratulations, welcome aboard. I'm really glad you're here because you're now all very much involved in an energy development process. And I work with farmers, rural residents, county and township governments on a daily basis on those particular issues. I want you to think about this. When we talk about the energy generation, transmission, and distribution system for fuel and electricity, that was the modern marvel of the 20th century. That model going forward is not going to serve us very well in the future. I also want you to think about this, to think beyond the snapshot. Think beyond now, because I'm telling a lot of our leaders, a lot of our farmers, a lot of our neighbors that a 30-year time block is considered now. Which means if you want to have the lights on and fuel in the cars and doing a number of things efficiently, effectively, and sustainably, you need to start thinking about them now. I'm looking at the goal of 2055 when you see renewable energy on par with fossil and the two numbers converging. My grandson is now 4. I'm 55. I hope he sees it in his lifetime and remembers where I'm buried. What is that being replaced with? What is that centralized generation, transmission, and distribution system being replaced with? You're seeing a diversified energy portfolio with a number of different technologies. Large, small, wind, solar, biomass, fuel cell, oil and coal, basically where it can be utilized. Large megawatt scale systems, small distribution kilowatt level systems behind the meter with a number of folks. I'm working with communities all over this place who are putting together their own toolbox on how they're going to address energy development for their community long term. And they're seeing all sorts of tools. In Eastern Ohio, will oil and gas drilling be part of that? You bet. Will it be over here? When you take a look at pipeline development, you bet. Will wind be part of that? Yes. Will things on our side of the meter be part of that? Yes. And a lot of communities are taking a look at what resources are available, what are our particular needs, and putting that together. And consequently, what you put together in Van Wert, what you put together in Mount Vernon, Ohio, what goes together in Marietta might be totally different. But if it works basically to get the job done, that's the toolbox, and that's what they're going to do. If you take a look at that, there's going to be a lot of collaboration, a lot of partnerships with regard to that. Why are farmers involved in that? I want you to think about this. In the 20th century, we basically became leaders in food and fiber production. In the 21st century, we're asking to basically still do food and fiber. Those demands are not going away, but also getting involved in energy development. By 2025, 25% of our nation's energy need for fuel electric generation is going to have an on-farm direct contact. We're already going to be providing a feedstock for a fuel, solid, liquid, and gas, or space for generation, transmission, and distribution equipment, large, medium, and small. We were food and fiber production people in the 20th century. We are now food, fiber, and energy. Are we going to do that alone? No. That's going to take a lot of collaboration, a lot of effort. And there's a lot of people in a lot of small communities getting together to talk about and work with regard to that. Who are some of those? Government leaders at the county and township level, schools, your public utility, economic development folks, industries in town, and stakeholder groups like farmers, rural residents, and people in town. We all need to be working together on that particular issue. And I will tell you this, if you are not at the table advocating your position and sharing your resources, you will be part of the menu. I guess welcome to my world. If you want to know more about that, that's the start of the conversation. Give me a call. I'll come up and talk further. But I thank you very much for your time and look forward to your questions. Sir?
Thank you, Dale. Not only a good message on the need for long-range planning, but I think there's also a message that says that the technology is there today. And I think there's also a very personal message of personal accountability, right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, thanks. So now we're going to move to the Toledo Museum of Art, and I think Paul has one of the best stories I've ever heard on almost net zero energy use, so I'm going to let him tell it.
Thank you very much. I'm the facility director for the Art Museum, and who we are, we're certainly a Toledo institution. We've been here over 100 years. Our mission is to promote art education and visual literacy. We're here for renewable energy. We're going to ask, or I'm going to answer, why did we get involved in it? The museum essentially wants to be sustainable now and into the future. We depend on support from everyone, but we aren't tax supported. Operating a museum is very similar to operating a hospital. We have very strict climate requirements. With that, there are certain energy-intensive processes that are required. Heating, cooling, we have to have a stable climate to protect what is a world-class art collection. This art collection is available for everyone in Toledo. The cost of general admission is zero. In order to do that, we must become more efficient. We must control our future. Renewables help us take command of that. Certain rates will change. We have decided that through efficiency, we can contain those. By investing in solar, we fixed our future power costs. Solar, for us, has a particular advantage. Our museum is primarily open during daylight hours. When does solar do its best? Daylight hours. We've also installed combined heat and power. While that may not be traditionally what's called a renewable, it does, again, help us control our costs. The EPA recently declared our emissions from those turbines de minimis. That's not an easy thing to get from the EPA, to say you're virtually putting out nothing. They really like you to, they're stringent. But we're generating power on site. We've eliminated transmission losses. what do those really amount to? More than 50% of energy is lost from the time, let's say, coal is burned to when a kilowatt is delivered to your building. That's, in my opinion, terrible. But by doing it on site, we eliminate those losses. We have enhanced reliability. We could function if there was a grid-wide problem. Jim has been a big partner with us on this and made it work, made it very successful. We've also gone after what I call green lighting, which is LED lighting. All but one gallery has now been converted to LED lighting. Instead of 60-watt bulbs, 12-watt bulbs, and we had to actually dim them a little. They actually put out a little too much light. Good problem to have. What we've done and where we've gotten to really has been a process of evolution that started back in 1992. We had a building that was using around 6.3 million kilowatt hours per year. That is a hefty price. We began by tuning up the building. I think it was mentioned earlier, you take an old building, there are things you can do to it to improve it. Many steps along the way, variable frequency drives on pumps. Again, the engineers did a good job when they designed everything, but they have to design it for the hottest day of the year, which could be 100, coldest day of the year, which could be 20 below zero. But in between those times, there's opportunity for savings. We've gone after that, and that's where the variable speed, et cetera, has come into play. We've had tremendous support on this, too, from our chief financial officer. I can't just dream up a project and do it. I have to prove it's going to work, and Carol Bentz, our chief financial officer, will scrutinize everything that's done, and I applaud her for doing that. But she's also been a tremendous supporter. She's agreed to fund things that have benefited the museum. Our savings are maybe a little shocking to many. I mentioned that 6.3 million kilowatt hours per year. We moved that decimal point over now. It's 0.63. That's a pretty large reduction. We are working towards net zero. Will we get there? Not sure, but we're going to continue to work towards it. We will not give up. There are many things that we have achieved in here that benefit the community. By reducing those costs, we remain free. People come to Toledo, there's a great place to go. There are many others, and I respect the zoo and other facilities. But we do offer something for free, and we try to make Toledo better. Excuse me. Toledo is blessed with a world-class art collection, and we are working to preserve it and to remain sustainable for the future. And renewables have played a big part in this. We've done our solar in a few phases. Tronox was certainly part of our phase 2 solar. We've used various methods of financing those solar projects. Some have been a PPA, and we've done some internally too. We've received certainly generous support in certain cases from the state. We can't take advantage of tax incentives. We've also received some federal stimulus funds, but all those funds have worked, and they continue to produce something of value for all of Metro Toledo on a daily basis. Renewables will make a difference. They do make a difference, and in my opinion, they secure the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. You know, that's a really good story, and who can argue with a 90% reduction in electrical use, whether it's net zero or not, but I'm sure you'll get there. And I do know how tough Carol Bentz is, and I also know that you guys have extended your desire for energy efficiency into your personal residences as well, and there's a little bit of a challenge there between the two of you, if I remember right, so that's great.
Thank you. And the key word is few, because we, like many in the room, are policy wonks, so I have more than 5 minutes worth of comments to make. I'll be quick. Forgive me for referring to my notes, which are highlighted to be brief. But thank you for inviting me to join you tonight to discuss Pew's research. It's this report, and there are some at the back of the room, and for those who want one and don't get one, I have a few with me up here. It's called Ohio's Clean Economy Rising, and it examines the current status of clean energy policies and deployment and investment in Ohio. The Pew Charitable Trust is driven by the power of knowledge to solve today's most challenging problems. Pew applies a rigorous, analytic approach to improve public policy, to inform the public, and stimulate civic life. You can find much more information at pewtrust.org. Pew focuses on many, many things. I'm not involved in all of those things. I work in the conservation arm or wing of Pew. But you may, if you're an NPR fan, hear from time to time, paid for by the Pew Charitable Trust, and they'll frequently produce studies on immigration or religion, demographical changes, or political polarization is a recent study. There's many, many topics, and Pew always provides a very rigorous standard of research. It's always independent and nonpartisan, and there's many public education efforts that Pew contributes to, health as well as conservation. So we're here within the Pew Clean Energy Initiative. First, a little on our Clean Energy Initiative. The goal of the program is to accelerate clean energy solutions that improve the economy, national security, and the environment. And we do so through research, public education, and engagement with policymakers, whereby we encourage development of clean and efficient sources of energy in the four following areas: the industrial sector, the utility sector, the transportation sector, and R&D for new clean energy technologies. We have many of those sectors represented tonight. And I'd also like to acknowledge a couple partners. Jay Troger, CEO of Tronox, is our partner and featured in this very report, as are several other Toledo area institutions. GEM Energy, a couple of Greg's colleagues, have teamed up with Pew on industrial energy efficiency education. Those of you in wind and solar, you get all the sexy headlines. Don't ignore combined heat and power, waste heat to power. Those are things that have huge potential in the industrial Midwest and especially in Ohio. And we've talked to Congress about that a number of times. And also to the gentleman in the uniform on my left, your right, Pew also has a project called the Project on National Security, Energy, and Climate. And over the years, we've flown in more than once national figures such as former Senator John Warner, who was also the Navy Secretary in the 1970s, and more importantly, one of Liz Taylor's husbands. He was accompanied by former Vice Admiral Denny McGinn, who's, I believe, now doing a Department of Energy or Department of Defense role. So from time to time, we have speakers that come in and help educate the public. We have actually a report called Power Surge a couple of years ago talking about how the U.S. military is a real leader in clean energy infrastructure development, also R&D in our state. Ohio can hold its head high. I'm an Ohioan, by the way. I'm the Ohio representative for Pew. I live in Northeast Ohio, cover the state for Pew. But not only this fine Air Force facility that you're going to hear about in a second, which is probably the most solar intensive anywhere in the state, but down in the Dayton area, of course, we have huge R&D in a number of regards. So Ohio is a real center. And what does our report talk about? Well, it's an independent confirmation, essentially, of what I understand this Ohio Energy Future Tour has been talking about all over. And that is that I'm going to jump to our findings. And I'll give you the soundbite for those who have a TV camera. Ohio has been a top-ranking clean energy state through 2013, but our research shows that uncertainty about government policy is now dampening investment and has sharply slowed the number of projects in Ohio, and Ohio companies are now forced to pursue business opportunities in other states, often at a disadvantage. Specifically, our Ohio findings. And after I give you this, I'm going to back up and give you a little bit more how this fits into the broader picture. Ohio has built upon its legacy in the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing in Ohio is 5th largest nationwide in terms of value of goods produced, and we've leveraged that to become a leader in production of clean energy technologies. Good thing. The state ranked 1st for facilities making wind components and 2nd for solar technology providers as of 2013. Reason for that year, that's the most recent year that data is available. It'll be some time before we have year 2014 information. So our study does 2 things. It looked at trends in the past using actual data up through 2013, and then it projects forward into the future another 10 or 15 years. And that's using an econometric model. Next, manufacturing facilities in the state have also used industrial energy efficiency technologies to harness wasted heat to generate electricity. Until recently, state and federal policies, both the state and the federal policies, have spurred leadership in clean energy deployment, but recently, uncertainty over the future of these measures has dampened investment. I have a chart, which we aren't using slides today, but you can see them in this printed report that shows the state was 6th in jobs for energy back in 2011 with over 100,000. We were 28th at that time, well, actually in 2013, in private clean energy investment, and 29th in new renewable energy capacity installations at 29 megawatts. And the final finding, there is still a large unmet potential for clean energy deployment in the state, which could be more fully harnessed with stable long-term investments. With stable long-term energy policies. I'll say that it's rare for Pew, which is really a national trust, set of charitable trusts with a global focus, to focus only on one state, as it did in this report. It's also rare for Pew to analyze state policy. We did so in this case, together with federal policy. More than 24 news stories resulted. I think that it's a wake-up call to say we're confirming what was warned about and feared, that when you take long-term capital development projects, which just to get to the R&D and the construction phase take a long, long time, and you start doing in the policy world what Dale talked about in the energy pricing world, do this, you're going to have a chilling or dampening effect. And we found that not only in the actual numbers, which were provided by Navigant Research, but also in a lot of one-on-one testimonial interviews with expert leaders from the clean energy sector. One more thing from me before turning it over. Pew also offers a clean energy business network, and there's information at the back table there, a little one-page sheet, which serves as a free resource to inform and engage clean energy business leaders in federal policy issues affecting their industries. We launched this in 2009. We now have more than 3,500 members nationwide. If you'd like to learn more or sign up, please do. There's, like I said, information and also a clipboard. From time to time, we host briefings, webinars, social get-togethers, and every couple of years we're able to fly some business leaders into Washington. We had a good conference this year. So I would love to collaborate with you, and thanks for your discussion tonight. Thanks.
Lieutenant Colonel Cupp, let's hear about how the defense business views this whole topic.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I'm Lieutenant Colonel John Cupp. I am the Civil Engineering Squadron Commander and Base Civil Engineer for the 180th Fighter Wing, which basically means that my team is responsible for the design, construction, and maintenance of all the facilities and infrastructure out at the base to support our flying mission. So one of the big part of that is our energy. Our journey into renewable energy started out 10 years ago, simply as a demonstration project through the Research and Development Program of the United States Air Force. The project was funded over a 5-year period through special appropriation funds from 2006 to 2010. Through this effort, we researched many technologies such as wind, geothermal, and solar, and work with local partners like the University of Toledo determine the best course of action for our project. All of the available data and the unique constraints of constructing such a project at the Toledo Express Airport pointed towards solar as our best option. Let's face it, the FAA gets a little concerned when you tell them you're thinking about putting up a 300-foot wind turbine in their airspace. We currently have a total of 1.6 megawatts of production capacity on the base, most of which comes from our large fixed array of over 20,000 First Solar panels and covers approximately 8 acres of the base. We also have 6 standalone roof-mounted or ground-mounted tracking arrays to round out the total PV photovoltaic system. All of the systems are continuously monitored, and data is collected through a central computer terminal located within our civil engineering facility. We are able to track system production and efficiency down to the individual inverters and circuits. This gives us the ability to analyze the daily performance and focus our maintenance efforts to keep the system working at its peak performance. The first phase went online in September of 2008. Although not the largest array in the Air Force, it is currently the largest array in the Air National Guard. We have proudly worked with our local community partners to develop this project over the recent years. The original idea and support for this project came from Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur, who you heard from earlier. Her vision was to demonstrate that we could make a military installation energy independent and reduce our overall dependence on foreign sources of energy. I'd like to mention a few of our local partners that I worked with us to make this project a success. I mentioned the University of Toledo, First Solar, Tronox, Sunlight, Advanced Distributed Generation, Rudolph Libby Companies, Labe Electric, Romanoff Electric, Transtar, and Gem Energy, just to name a few. We couldn't have reached this goal without the talent and experience of our education and business partners from Northwest Ohio. Here are some of the basic facts related to our investment and cost savings. We have invested approximately $14 million in the overall PV system for the base. In the very first phase, our costs were around $11,000 per kilowatt installed. Over the 5 years of development, the cost was nearly cut in half. Today, estimates indicate that installed cost would be as low as 1/4 the original cost of our first phase, or around $2,500 per kilowatt installed. In the beginning, we expected to have a direct one-for-one savings for the kilowatt hour produced, but had not really considered the possible demand savings. When we started, our costs were between 13 and 15 cents per kilowatt hour, what we got billed from Toledo Edison. Now they average between 7 and 9 cents per kilowatt hour, substantial decrease. We realized a $250,000 savings annually, and to date, we have saved approximately $1.3 million. We have produced over 9 million kilowatt hours, preventing 10,000 tons of CO2 from being released into the atmosphere, and saved 3,500 tons of coal. We produce approximately 37% of our total electrical needs. Our solar production, though, is only half of the sustainable facility equation. We have invested heavily in recent years in demand reduction projects and technologies. We utilize a centrally managed building automation system control our mechanical systems base-wide. We have installed exterior LED lighting for our buildings, streets, and parking lots, and all are controlled through a centrally managed lighting control system. We have invested in high-efficiency boilers and air conditioners throughout the base, as well as several roof replacements and energy-efficient windows. We have a very aggressive energy management policy as well, where we enforce strict heating and cooling set points year-round, and we also include no heating and no cooling periods in the spring and fall. We have an energy management steering group that meets quarterly with senior leadership and representatives throughout the wing to discuss energy initiatives and mission-driven impacts on our overall energy usage. We have constructed 1 LEED Gold and 3 LEED Silver certified facilities totaling 57,000 square feet. We have 1 LEED Silver project that is currently under construction for another 13,500 square feet, and 1 LEED Silver project is under solicitation right now for construction for another 6,500 square feet. That represents 20% of our total infrastructure of new and improved facilities that we're able to put online. We were recognized as the top base for reduction in energy intensity throughout the entire Air Force from 2003 to 2011, reducing our usage by 37% in BTUs per square foot. We utilize biodiesel fuel in our mowers and low-speed vehicles for base maintenance. We also have electric vehicles that are used by our civil engineering and aircraft maintenance folks to perform daily maintenance functions. In 2012, the 180th Fighter Wing became the first Air National Guard wing to fly routine training missions solely on biofuel as part of the testing plan with the Air Force to certify more than 40 aircraft models for biofuel use. The 180th Fighter Wing aircraft were designated to test 100,000 gallons of the renewable fuel as one of the final steps before taking the fuel mainstream and allowing the F-16 to use biofuel in unrestricted operations. Our vision for tomorrow is to continue to be good stewards of our environment and responsible protectors of our taxpayer dollars. Our goal is to be the most energy efficient base in the Air Force and continue that trend as we move towards becoming completely energy independent. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very impressive story, and it gives me the comfort that our tax dollars are being well spent. And I would commend Lieutenant Colonel Cupp and his staff and the people at the 180th for really being on the early edge of installing solar in Toledo and being willing to use technologies like Tronox and giving them a shot, and also being good partners with the port and an important Toledo area employer. So thanks.
Thank you.
With that, to keep us on time, I'm going to take one quick question for this distinguished panel, and then we're going to move on to a quick video on wind. Any questions from the audience?
Well, Colonel, I'd like to ask you, I know the military wants to make cuts and your base has been targeted on occasion. I know Marcy has your back. But do you think that your initiatives here were one of the reasons that you've been kept as one of the active bases?
I think it plays into the overall equation if you're talking about BRAC. I think first and foremost, it comes down to our importance to the overall mission of the Air Force and our national security. One of the missions that we fly is Aerospace Control Alert since 9/11. That is a very important part of our homeland defense. I think that has a lot to do with it, but obviously in today of the energy, the importance of energy and the budget constraints, I mean, you all hear on the news about sequestration. Well, anything that we can do to make ourselves more efficient or bring our costs down, certainly it goes into that equation of keeping us viable. So we do everything we can to make sure, one, I'm a taxpayer as well, make sure that my money's being spent as wisely. But the cuts are keep on coming. So the more that we can do to keep ourselves efficient and on the cutting edge, like Kevin mentioned, we're one of the first Air National Guard bases in the country to put this type of technology in place. Now many have copied us, but I still think we're the largest out there. So all of these things kind of help us tell a successful story and keep us viable for the future.
Thank you. All right. With that,
Movie time.
turn it over to Jack Shaner. Thank you, panel. Let's give our panel a round of applause.
Hello, everybody. How are you? My name is Jack Shaner. I'm the Deputy Director of the Ohio Environmental Council. We are a nonprofit research and advocacy organization in Columbus, Ohio, but we're statewide, members all over the state. I've met a couple here. Got a couple of our good members already here tonight. Our mission is to secure cleaner air, land, and water for all who call Ohio home. It is a thrill to be here. I was talking to Keith Wilkowski, one of our board members, earlier tonight, and I was reminded again with a speaker from Cooper Tire down in Findlay, Ohio. I grew up a few of my early formative years down in Findlay, Ohio. I remember when Findlay was named Flag City, USA, when the first Earth Day in the United States was held. And I also remember watching, this was in the days when there was like 3 TV stations. Frank, you remember that, those good old days. And the Cleveland Indians were carried by the Toledo station. Why they didn't go with a winner, the Tigers, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but anyway, it gets in your genes, right? So I remember, during the game, the camera pans on this banner, wait till next year. Wait till next year. This is next year for clean energy in Ohio and in the United States. I mean, we no longer have to hope and wish and wait for the future. The future is here. This Ohio Future Energy Tour is making a whistle stop here in Toledo, Ohio, because the future is arriving, has arrived, though we're now on a sighting. Our State House leaders have put us on a sighting. We're going to talk about it in a moment. I'm going to introduce the film here for tonight, but I also want to say, these energy standards you've heard, what a diverse panel. I mean, the military, nonprofits, advocacy, agriculture, entrepreneurs, clean energy sector. Fantastic panel of speakers tonight. And you've heard the message, thanks to Ohio, these entrepreneurs, these leaders, we are saving energy, meaning we are saving consumers millions. I mean, by the utility's own data, hundreds of millions of dollars being saved. We are putting to work thousands of Ohioans. One of the, Tom, I can't believe you didn't use one of your factoids in your report, the Pew, fantastic Pew report. There are more people employed in the solar energy sector in the Buckeye State than there are coal miners in the Buckeye State. The trends are clear. Give that a round of applause. Absolutely. And while we are expanding jobs, while we are saving consumers money, we're shrinking dangerous greenhouse gas, other dangerous air emissions, mercury, so many others. So it's a fantastic success story. Now you've heard how many years have we all heard the old myth? You gotta pick. You can't have them both. You want good jobs, or do you want a clean environment? Because folks, you can't have them both. How many times have we heard that, right? I am now we're going to show you a little 15-minute video which gives you a ringing, clear answer to that myth, not from Berkeley, California, not from Amherst, Massachusetts, not from wherever Al Gore is living these days. This is from Van Wert, Ohio, rural Ohio, where the good people down there, farmers and school teachers and shop owners in Main Street, America, are going to tell you about the good news of clean energy and Ohio's clean energy standards. Let's take it away with the video.
All right, thank you, Jack. Just a few closing comments. First of all, before I forget, I would like to thank Andrea Jones with the Energy Office for all her help tonight, along with Gilda and Holly. Another round of applause for all of our great speakers. I think the breadth of what we heard about tonight and just the total difference of organizations. I mean, we've heard from defense, we've heard from nonprofits, we've heard from industrial businesses. It all makes sense. Take time to learn the facts. And I'm going to get on my own personal soapbox for a little moment, if you'll indulge me. We've been very active in Property Assessed Clean Energy, or PACE, which is a new economic development, community development, financing tool. We have just started the surface of what is potential. And imagine, if you will, that we could take an industrial facility in Fulton County that generates a lot of heat and connect it to a large commercial greenhouse, actual true story. Imagine if you had a fish farm that used a lot of energy, and you could do that through a PACE district. Imagine if you had a historic downtown hotel and you wanted to attract a marquee brand, hotel brand, to your downtown. Imagine if you had a commercial farm, one of the largest pork operations in North America, that was going to take an anaerobic digester of a very large scale and produce pipeline-grade natural gas. Okay, think about what that does to the water runoff and the sustainability of our water. Think about what that does to the sustainability of our food supply. We can revitalize these downtowns using this tool. We can revitalize our suburbs. We can put in clean energy. We can put in clean energy and smart grid connections. So I'm going to leave you with this comment. The pace is about to pick up. The train is leaving the station. It's time to get on board. Thank you. One last housekeeping item. There is a pledge form here that we're asking you to take a look at it and sign it. We're going to send these down to the State House, showing that there are people that are concerned about this, concerned about the way our representatives are voting. And I would remind you that when these laws passed back in 2010, it was a unanimous bipartisan effort, period. And now we think all of a sudden it's not a good idea. I'm dumbfounded. So sign the pledge, write your representatives, let them hear what's going on, get the facts. Thanks.